Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, and this is episode number 146, and this is the final ever episode of this F1 2020 series. I can't quite believe it. It's not a full year, but nearly a whole year has gone by. It seems quite quickly with this series, It only seems like, maybe a week ago we were starting up the game for the first time ever and starting episode number 1. This whole new world of My Team Career Mode, creating our new team, being the team boss. We choose the logo, the colours, the livery, the teammate, where the spending is on facilities in HQ, the R&D, everything, and day-to-day activities, a whole new world. But after 146 episodes, we are here now for the final ever race in the final season. Season 8's finale at the Brazilian Grand Prix today. And it is a championship deciding fight between myself and Lando Norris primarily. Technically, Mick Schumacher, our teammate, and Esteban Ocon and the McLaren are still mathematically able to win the championship. But it would take some massive miracles and obviously a lot of disaster for myself and Lando to kind of, relinquish that fight. So once again, for the second season in a row, the primary fight is between myself and Lando Norris. Obviously, last season we were in the same team, in the Quadrant sponsored AAR team, but for this last one, we're in different teams. He's in the Red Bull. I am obviously still in the Aarava Archer racing car that we've been in since the start of this series. And mentioning the beginning of this series, you may have noticed in the kind of opening little menu scenes there that the livery looks slightly different, but also very much the same at the same time, because for the final ever episode, I thought it'd be very nice to pay homage to the original episode, the very beginning of this entire series on F1 2020. So you'll see our livery today is a split livery. Half of it is the current, most recent livery we've been running for Season 8, and then the other half is as close as we can get to the original livery I started episode number 1 with, and so it's split right down the middle. It looks pretty sick off-board, and on-board is also going to look pretty funky, because I'm also going to split my helmet design on the top as well. So I thought that'd be the kind of best way and fitting way to pay homage to the entire series and that original, very original livery and set of colours we chose. But yeah, 146 episodes, 8 seasons. This is, I think, the most seasons I've ever done on one game. Obviously, we've had shortened ones since season 4, but still, we've had we never had 8 seasons of an entire series on one game cycle, on one game. And yeah, it's been quite a journey. Obviously, the first 2 seasons getting up to speed, lost the championship to Leclerc in season 2, got revenge in season 3 and finally won it, and got the constructors twice in a row there. Then we had the bankrupt season where the team went bankrupt after spending so much money in season 3. Season 5, we rebuilt back better and we came back stronger to win the Drivers and the Constructors Championship, and we've not looked back since then. We've had different teammates, different liveries, with the Vodafone Mercedes livery in season 6. We had Hamilton and Russell splitting the partnerships on the other side of the car. Season 7, of course, we had the full Team Quadrant rebrand with Lando stepping in as our teammate, and then we end off in this season, we've had our original teammate, our very first one, Mick Schumacher, in it, and it's been great to see how he's changed as an AI driver after 8 seasons of being in the kind of F1 market, obviously, and growing in terms of the AI stats and whatnot, and also just seeing how all the other stories have played out. Those of you that have watched all of the episodes or most of the seasons, you've got a great picture of all these different storylines of these different AI drivers, their different journeys, Gasly, Verstappen, Sainz, Hamilton, a massive one, of course, and then, other players as well. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed, seeing it all and kind of experiencing as much as I have to be actually doing the race and recording them. It's been quite something, and obviously everything must come to an end, though, eventually, and so this is the final episode, and, it's a nice way to end it, a whole week or so before F1 2021 drops, so we have a bit of a breather on the channel. I can get a breather, and then we can kind of come fresh to the F1 2021 game and start to create a whole new universe and series and, storyline of what's going to happen on that game. But yeah, here we are then at the Brazilian Grand Prix, the final episode and the championship decider, and of course we do. We have a spanner in the works off the bat because it's raining at the very start here on Saturday. So that's just going to make life very difficult. It's full wet conditions at the start of Saturday. It's a full dry race, so I've set the car up for the dry, so it means that the car is a little bit on edge. It definitely doesn't have the downforce I want it to in the corners, so taking it a little bit iffy and kind of, tentatively in the first laps, the kind of usual thing, filling up the car for a few consecutive laps on the full wet tyre. And you can see the split livery and the split helmet design I've got there, as close as I can to the original we had from episode number 1. Obviously a little bit of tweaking because it is a modded livery, so I've had to try and recreate the in-game livery we chose in episode 1. But there's something about the split livery with the kind of white on black and then the kind of splashes of the kind of fluoro green yellow we've had, obviously the kind of Jensen Button vibes on the left-hand side, and, obviously the inspiration for the colours. There's something about it. It actually works for me personally. I actually really dig the split livery as a nice little one-off special for this final episode. But anyway, getting back to the action then in Q1, you can see it's the end of this session now on the top right, and we've gone to intermediate. So it was full wets for half of the session, then the rain slowed down, so it's time for the inters. And I'm kind of thankful because I had no pace on the full wet tyres. On inters, we get through P11. Not amazing, but it gets us through. We actually out-qualified Mick there in Q1. Obviously, it doesn't really matter. Q1, all about getting through into the second part of the qualifying session. That's something that Pierre Gasly and Lewis Hamilton can't do, which is a bit of a shame for Gasly because he's always been kind of Mr. Qualifying. When he was our teammate, he was very much Mr. Qualifying. But Hamilton there kind of sums up him in this career ever since Season 2. He's not been the same Lewis Hamilton we know in real life. He's been very much kind of on the ropes. He's had a few little glimpses of reinvigoration since he moved back to McLaren in the last 2 seasons, but yeah, kind of sums up his entire career here on this game in my career mode save, being knocked out of Q1 there in a car that's fought for the championship, because Ocon is right up there, and like I said, mathematically Ocon and Schumacher could still win the championship, but you would think it's probably more so in myself and Lando's hands, with a very sizable, I think, a 10 plus point gap at least from myself and Lando to Schumacher and Ocon in P3 and P4. But here we are then in Q2 on the intermediates to start off with. So the first kind of half of this session was on inters. But you can see it's very dry now, and we hardly improve on that third flying lap. We did 3 laps in total on the intermediates, and we hardly improved on the last one there. And you saw it was quite dry, and I thought, okay, hang on, is it actually going to get to slick tyres by the end of this thing? And lo and behold, it did, right at the death. We're going to drive up manually because we're very, very tight on time, but we are going to make it through, and everyone is going to get 1 flying lap to get through into the top 10 shootout. Right now, we're on the cusp. We're P9, but everyone set a time on inters, and everyone, I think, has managed to go out on a set of soft compounded tyres. So this is it. Effectively, it's almost like kind of one-shot qualifying, but, not actually doing the kind of virtual ghost part of one-shot qualifying. We're doing it kind of live, everyone doing one lap here, and it's going to be very interesting because the track's a bit green, the rubber's been washed away by the water, and of course, it's the first time we've driven this car in anger around this circuit on the dry tyres. So let's see what we can do. 8 seconds gain. So it's so hard to tell how we're doing. I don't know what the lap time is for everyone else. Everyone's going purple ahead of me. Schumacher goes purple across the line for us. What's it gonna be? It's gonna be P12. And so in our final qualifying session, and one where we needed to be on the money, we are knocked out in Q2. P12, Lando Norris has gone fastest of all, so he's going to have another shot in a dry top 10 shootout, I would assume, when we're fighting Lando. There's only, we're chasing him down. We're not ahead in the championship, remember. We lost the lead of the championship by a couple of points to Lando following last episode, so we're chasing. We need to be ahead of him, and we're way behind him now on the grids. That's just how the cookie crumbled. Like I said, everyone had 1 shot, 1 lap. The track was dry from wet, 8 seconds gained. I didn't know if that was good or bad. Clearly wasn't enough. I had to gain 10 seconds to try and get through into the top 10 shootout, clearly. And so we're out. And so we have to go onto the grids for the final time on this game in this career mode. And we've got a lot of chasing and work to do. Let's go to the grid.
Formula One returns to Sao Paulo once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Brazilian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his third championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7 mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour, if of course the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. And so, for one final time this season, Anthony Davidson joins me in the commentary box.
Well, the winter break is looming once again. No doubt many of those teams already have their eyes firmly on next season. But there's still work to be done here. Still championship positions to decide, which can make a big difference to the prize money. So no one's going to be taking their foot off the throttle just yet.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Mick Schumacher lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Sainz, Ocon, Max Verstappen and Leclerc, Russell, Giovinazzi, Albon and Lance Stroll, Latifi, the owner-driver, Luca Giotto and De Vries, Matsushita, Kvyat, Pierre Gasly and Lewis Hamilton, Aitken, Bottas, Magnussen and Guan Yu Zhou. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So it's a very doom and gloom grid then here at Sao Paulo. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come for us today. Usual kind of housekeeping. I need to preface this. If you've followed the series for a bit, you'll know. For whatever reason, even moving to a new PC has not fixed this issue. For whatever reason, my F1 game is a bit broken, and the replay cameras for this final episode, always for the finale episode, no matter what track I make it at, Abu Dhabi or Brazil, the replay cameras always play in broad daylight and don't show the weather and don't show the correct time of day. So if you look at the replay cameras and they're broad daylight, but it's overcast on my onboard, that's why. But yeah, in terms of where our rivals then qualify, Schumacher got pole position for this final race then, showing that he does still very much have the speed, just very unlucky still not to be right in the hunt for the championship. And Lando Norris, P2. So not quite pole, but pretty bad still in the front row, and we're down here in P12. So we have got a lot of work to do. We've got to hope that Mick can hold back Lando. I hope my teammate basically does me a solid and doesn't let him by, and hope that he kind of holds him up whilst I try and get through in the first stint, and then we'll see what we can do in terms of strategy, because that's going to be up in the air in terms of either a one-stop or a two-stop. In the past, sometimes the one-stop's been quicker, but then equally in recent seasons, the two-stops really worked out because the tyre weight's been so high at the end of the stint if you do the one-stop. But there's nothing really much more to discuss, really. It's just time to get ourselves psyched up for the final race of F1 2020 My Team Career.
We're still in with a shot at the driver's title. It's down to this. Now go out there and come back a champion.
Here we go then, 146 episodes, and we're here for the final time to 5 red lights on this game, to the Brazilian Grand Prix. Lights are out and we're underway, and it is a sluggish start for Lance Stroll on the inside there. Latifi, a good one. Giovinazzi as well on the inside of Albon. We dive down the inside of Stroll. Can we get past Latifi? No, Latifi squeezes us into the grass there, so it's a really slow getaway really to turn 1, and we actually get overtaken by Lance Stroll on the exit, the centre S. Giotto got us in the lead, is Mick Schumacher. Then it's Lando from Sainz as we go to the inside of Stroll, trying to re-overtake the Canadian, the Racing Point car, to get down to P12 at least, and then we'll get onto the back of Luca Giotto in the Williams to get up into P11 if we can dive down the inside there, slide the car through, squeeze them out on the exit. And now we're in business maybe, because now we can get a charge on for the rest of the grid. But Schumacher is the one that leads the way then. Thankfully, that's great news for us, because like I said, I need him to remain in the lead. And you know, if he wants to, maybe back Lando into everyone else. But at the moment, he is in P2 then, ahead of his teammate Sainz. Ocon, side by side, is George Russell and Max Verstappen, that is. Russell round the outside on the Alfa Romeo. He's had a pretty torrid run to the end of this season, George Russell, but he's looking pretty feisty in this one as he overtook the Dutchman in the Mercedes car. But the Verstappen comes back at him though. I think Russell went a little bit wide there, and the Ferrari was also having a little look in, and that's the pack of cars I'm worried about. Those are the guys that are a little bit quick and won't be such easy pickings compared to maybe Albon here in the other Racing Point car and Giotto as we got earlier, but we're going to try and get the move done at least on Albon here as quickly as we can. Like I said, easy pickings on the inside and doing what Lewis Hamilton could not at 2019 Brazil, going down the inside of that right-hander up into P10, and now we do catch up to the pack. It's not the Alfa Romeo Russell though, it's Latifi who's caught up to Verstappen. Verstappen is just going backwards in this race, showing how poor he has been in the Mercedes car this season. It's going to be 3 wide maybe between Latifi, Gio and Verstappen. Latifi just backs out. We go around the outside of not one but maybe 2 cars. ERS on the exit. We really were patient and picked our time to make the move, and that is the kind of championship winning move we need to make. That's the kind of clever driving we need to be doing around this race. Not wasting time, cutting through this traffic and getting the moves done as easy as we can, just like this one maybe on Giovinazzi on the outside, although into turn 1 he gives us a good old fight. He dives back down the inside. We go a little bit deep into the corner and the Ferrari gets a great run through the middle of this NRS, and he's coming back at us. Look at that, we're full throttle, ERS deployed, but he just has great acceleration through that left-hander, and so we have to squeeze him to the inside and finally finish off the move as we get into Sector 2, up into P7. So pretty okay progress, I'd say. A little bit slower than I wanted, but not too bad. And there's still a long way to go in this race. So we just keep our head down, keep our foot down on the loud pedal, and see what we can do now in the next part of this stint. We've got free air to try and chase off this pack. We've got Schumacher still in the lead. Then you've got Lando Norris in second, then Carlos Sainz in third, followed by Esteban Ocon close behind. Then there's a little tiny gap, and you've got George Russell, the Alfa Romeo, leading the Ferrari. But now we see Sainz looking to size up a move, and this is going to help us out, and clearly no team orders for Red Bull to help out Lando Norris as Sainz dives down the inside. These two fighting is going to hold them both up. It's going to hold the whole pack up, and that's going to invite us to close up a little bit quicker than we maybe would have done if they didn't fight. And look at this, they're still going at it up the hill. Norris on the inside defending for all his might to keep the second place, and Sainz is still on the inside, gets the nose in, and there's going to be side by side for nearly half a lap. This is Sainz finally backs out of it, but the damage has been done. Look at that behind. We've already caught up. We're already on the tail end of this pack with Leclerc. This is beautiful stuff. It's lap 8. It's only taken a lap and a bit for us to get to this point as we go on towards lap number 9 up the hill. This is looking very good, and we've got a bit of fuel also to work with on the bottom right there, just saving a little bit when we can and don't want to waste it. We've got, oh no, on the right, look at the bottom right.
Okay, the DRS is stuck open. You'll have to come in so we can try and attempt to fix. Pit in for repairs.
Unbelievable. You, what? I've never seen, I've never had this. I have never had this on this game. I've had DRS failures where the DRS is stuck shut in qualifying or in the race. I've had it stuck open maybe once before in F1 2019 during qualifying, but I have never, in the history of me playing the F1 game, have had the DRS stuck open in an active race session. We're on lap 9. We're so early on, and my team's wanting me to pit now to fix the damage. I guess I don't know if there's going to be an animation where they try and push down the rear wing, because I don't know. I've never been in this situation. I've never seen this on F1 2020. But the DRS is stuck open. You can see on the bottom right, the heads-up display. If I keep looking back, you'll see it just open. And so obviously that helps us in a straight line. Every straight, I'm gaining a bit more speed, and effectively it got a little bit of cheating going on here. But every corner, every time I'm going into it, I know the rear end's going to be a bit floaty compared to usual. So we've come in like our team have requested on lap number 9 there. And because we're in this early, effectively now this forces us onto a 2-stop strategy then. So we'll go onto a set of medium tyres and then softs at the end of this race. But we come in, we look behind us, and there's no animation. There was no, the rear wing did twitch. You may have seen that. It twitched a little bit, but it's still open. It's still stuck open. I now don't know what is going on in this race. I assumed we were coming in, like they said, to fix it. The rear wing did twitch slightly down, so now I don't know if it's visually open, but like in the data and in the coding, it's maybe closed, or what? I don't think so, though, because on the bottom right, look at it, we've still got that red triangle icon to say the rear wing is broken. So I think it's still technically open. It's just a little bit less open than it was before the pit stop.
Your DRS is offline. The rear wing is down, so you can stay out while we work on a fix.
And now my own team doesn't know what's going on, because they're saying it's stock closed, but it's clearly still visually open. Like I said, I don't know if it's actually open in terms of the physics. I guess we're going to see now, because I can't come in again, so we're going to have to go like this. But ahead of us, at the front end of this grid, the battle for P2 is heating up, and that's Esteban Ocon. He's through. He's overtaken Norris, and Sainz is nowhere near Lando anymore. Sainz is behind Leclerc. So the Spaniard's fallen away in the Red Bull car. He's down in at least P6, that is. And Norris is down to P3, so that's a massive favour for us. Schumacher still leads, but it's now Ocon in second, Norris in third, and maybe is that the beginning of the end for Red Bull's race pace? I don't know, with Sainz going down the order. Let's keep an eye on Lando and see how he goes on through this stint then. But lap 11, we overtake the Haas car, and you can see there is a bit of general understeer in the car, and I can tell you the feeling in the car was that it didn't feel like the front, it didn't feel like the rear wing was closed. It did feel like it was slightly still open, as it still is visually. So yeah, we're still now driving around with an open rear wing, and technically we're cheating a little bit because every straight we're getting a boost. In the corners, I'm able to slightly roll the car through to counteract the rear end being a little bit unstable. But to be honest, we're gaining a bit of time in the last sector. Clearly, as you can see, the last sector there purple. So we're actually, I'm not complaining too much, but it's just a very weird kind of experience to drive with. But remember, even with rear wing, problems aside, we've made the switch to a two-stop now. We're forced into that, having to make that early pit stop. So we have to actually go pretty quickly to try and build a gap for that extra pit stop, because I don't think most of these guys, and I think they're all going to do the one stop onto a set of hard compound tyres. So we now watch on Norris struggling some more, and both Red Bulls are being overtaken at the same time by Alfa Romeos, because in the background Sainz was being overtaken by Latifi, and Norris is being overtaken by George Russell on the Alfa Romeo, and he's up into third place then. So it's Schumacher from Ocon, Russell and Norris. It's all my past or present championship rivals here in the top 5 or 6, because it's Schumacher, Ocon, Russell, Norris, Leclerc. He was a rival back in the day in seasons 2 and season 3. Sainz not too far behind. Yeah, it's really meant to be at the sharp end there, but it's great. That's good news for us to see Lando falling away as we now make a beautiful little overtake on De Vries here, committing to the outside there with an open rear wing. We committed with the right pedal and went round the outside of the Dutchman to get up into P19. We've got some really good pace in Sector 1 with the DRS open, and in on the last sector, despite being red here, we caught up to the Haas massively of Kevin Magnussen here, but you can see there, that little twitch there, that's the effect of the rear wing being open, because the rear end just didn't have the grip there for me to plant the power and change direction so quickly. So I'm having to be a little bit smooth with the turning in and out of corners just to make sure the rear end doesn't step, and we've got an issue. Jack Aiken, he's out the Grand Prix, taken out there. I think he got some damage on the front left, and so he's out. So we get one free position up into P16, and now you may have seen on the bottom right there, finally the red icon's gone away, and I think my rear wing is now fixed. I didn't quite realise that at this stage. You'll see I finally noticed the bottom right, it's not red anymore, and I'm going to look behind me in a second just to kind of make sure the rear wing's there. But we're going to try and make a move on Kvyat again. Same move that we made on De Vries, committing on the outside line. Flat out committing ballsy stuff to keep our right foot on the loud pedal, and we're up into P15 now and closing up to Albon. And this is when I realised the rear wing was fixed, was because I actually had the actual mechanic to open DRS manually when it was available to me. So now the rear wing is fine, and I can feel the tiny little bit extra downforce on the rear end. So we did somehow actually manage to drive a few laps with the rear wing slightly open. We made it work, and we've been on absolute charge here, overtaking the Alpine, and then as the last few guys make their pit stop for the one stop onto hard, you can see on the top left, I'm the only man, it would seem, on mediums apart from Kvyat, but he started on the mediums, and we're up into P3. The only cars ahead of us are Schumacher, who's pit, and Latifi, who's yet to pit. So after everyone's made their pit stop, it is a 1-2 right now for aarava Archer Racing. Schumacher leads the way, leading from the start. We're into second, so we've jumped everyone that was ahead of us pre our first pit stop. But remember, we're making an extra one compared to everyone else, as now we watch on Russell go around the outside. He's already ahead of Ocon then, so Russell is in a net P2 position when we get out of the way, and Ocon's behind him now. And meanwhile, it's been a further slow disaster for both Red Bull cars, because they find themselves both behind an AlphaTauri and behind Latifi's Alfa Romeo as well. And now we're going to watch Sainz here, I think this is, trying to overtake the AlphaTauri of Bottas, I think it is, or maybe De Vries, one of the two. And they're both just way down the order, so they must have had a horrendous end of the first stint on the soft compound tyre, and then also just not a great outlap on the hards. And it's 3 wide now. Lando's on the inside, Sainz on the outside, the AlphaTauri in the middle getting pinched in, but the AlphaTauri keeps it. The two Red Bulls are having a mare now. Their race pace has dropped off a cliff, and you've still got Lando fighting the AlphaTauri on the outside there. They're still going at it down into the kind of undulating sector 2, and the AlphaTauri is going to sweep around the outside, have the inside line for the next corner, and he's maintained the position. But now it's Lando ahead of Carlos Sainz, but the two are still behind the sister team. I'm surprised there's been no kind of team orders here for the AlphaTauri to get out the goddamn way. Here goes Lando now, second time lucky on the inside there. Sainz can't quite follow him through for the 3 wide again, but Lando this time will finally get the move done on the AlphaTauri and get into some clean air, some very crucial clean air he needs to try and pick up the pace, because at the moment these two Red Bull cars, they're down in like I think P9 and P11 respectively, so not a great position. And this begs the question, where are we going to filter out when we make our second pit stop? Because here we are now, lap 21, fast up the Grand Prix. The medium tyres are working, an absolute treat versus the hard compound for everyone else, and we're closing up to Schumacher now. And we might even go for the race lead. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a vanity race lead right now as it stands, because we're making that extra pit stop, but it's still a crucial move to make. But Schumacher comes back at us then, and he's not going to make life easy for us. Schumacher, mathematically, maybe still in the championship fight, so not making life easy for us to get past him, because he's doing his own thing. He's controlling this race. He's probably going to go on to dominate and probably win this race at this rate, because he looks in like a world of his own. But we move 2 laps later then, lap 23. I've been in the lead. I've extended my gap well, it was 1.4, but then the gap reduced to 1.1, so that was my indication the mediums are going off now, and we need to come in for the second and final stop now in this race onto a set of new soft compounded tyres, because obviously with the rain and qualifying we've saved some new compound of tyres, so very brand spanking new red wall set. So this is going to feel absolutely amazing. But at the moment, in terms of positions, we're down to P8, and as we come out the pit lane, right by us, the two Red Bulls are going at it, and Sainz is ruining Lando's race maybe as he overtakes him. Where is the team orders for Red Bull here? Clearly not at all, as Lando has to try and re-overtake his teammate. Look around the outside, but no, Sainz has got him. Sainz pushes Lando Norris down by 1 position, and then further back by 1 is Giovinazzi, and then it's myself. So we're not too far off Norris then, but we're both down in lower points paying positions, you know, so there was only 2 points in it then. Lando was 2 points ahead of me going into this race for the championship lead, and in these kind of positions, you know, P10, P9, P8, the points differences from those positions are 2 points, so we might need a fast lap of the Grand Prix here to help us out if we don't gain more positions and gain more points. So it's almost a bit of a repeat of last season. Remember, in season 7 in this same place, Sao Paulo, we had to maybe bank on a fast lap of the Grand Prix helping us out to get Lando in the championship then when we were teammates in the same car. This time, bitter rivals in 2 different teams. We overtake Giovinazzi then up into P8, Norris in P7. So yeah, the difference between these 2 positions are 2 points. So we at the moment have the fast lap of the Grand Prix. We're going to need that, but at the moment, lap 26, 10 laps to go, and Giovinazzi's coming back as we go too deep into turn 1, and Giovinazzi gets the switchback on us on the inside, and it's deja vu seeing the Ferrari out traction us on the inside of the exit of the ZRS. He's got DRS now as well off the back of me. We go chasing after him again to overtake him, and the Ferrari not helping us out as we come through back into P8 and into clean air once again to chase after Lando Norris, but he's being helped out by his teammate a little bit because he's still in the DRS zone of Sainz, so he's opening the rear flap every time we get to open it, but we're so much closer now, deploying all the ERS to the point where we run out of ERS across the line. Lando squeezed us a little bit to the inside, we go down the inside, he's locked up, we've locked up, and we're now neck and neck through the center as we cut back in for the tighter line and the better run through this corner. We're going to get the DRS off, play a bit of a patient game rather than keep it side by side through the entire center S, and so here we go now on the outside into sector 2. It's going to be very close on the exit, and Lando gets the better run. Even with some ERS deploying, the Red Bull is so quick off that corner. We try around the outside, now up the hill. This is oh so close, and this is an absolutely sensational wheel-to-wheel battle with our direct championship rival here, and this is a fight for position that would literally win the championship. If I overtook him now, that would be enough to win the championship, I think. But look at the Ferrari go as the tyre wear, remember, kicks in for me on the soft compound. Two lots softer than the hard compound, so these tyres are wearing out so much quicker, and I think that's why the Ferrari is able to keep in the fight and keep close and keep annoying me. But we're focusing on Norris on the Red Bull car, and this time he has no DRS. Sainz has walked away, and we can walk away through on the right hand side up into P7. We've got the fast lap of the Grand Prix at the moment, so as it stands, I think we are doing enough to mathematically take the lead back and win the Drivers' Championship. And later on, a few laps later, it may be completely over for Norris again. For the second season in a row, he's been overtaken. Once we've overtaken him, the Ferrari's got him. And that's what happened in Season 7, if you remember. He got overtaken by another car. That doubly helped me out in the championship. But meanwhile, at the sharp end, this is a fight for P2 then. Esteban Ocon in the McLaren on the inside. George Russell on the Alfa Romeo, and the two are wheel to wheel. Bit of contact made, and Ocon's on the left-hand side, Russell on the right. Who's going to have DRS here? I think it's Ocon. Yes, he does. And the McLaren up into P2. And you know what? I'm not sure on the maths of everything here, but I hope that we're doing enough here to not only beat Norris, but I'm kind of now wary of the fact that Schumacher is going to get 25 points here, Ocon 18. I hope there's not late drama here, one of them doing a Vettel in Abu Dhabi 2010 and coming out of nowhere to win this thing at the death of it. I'm not sure on the maths, so I don't actually know. So things have just got a little bit more tense for me in my mind and the cockpit, but we're doing all we can to maximise our points because we overtake Carlos Sainz up into P6 of this race because, you know, I just don't know, because on that last lap I kind of got a bit panicked and thought, okay, we need to really overtake Sainz here. We only just caught up to him because of the tyre wear. The tyre wear kicked in so much, you saw on the heads-up display there, that it took us so long to catch back up to Sainz because he got a lead whilst we were fighting Lando and Giovinazzi. But coming through, he's been dominating the entire race. Mick Schumacher, a fantastic pole position to flag race win at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Ocon second, George Russell in third. So a lot of my main rivals from this season on the podium there. We're going to come through for P6 and an extra point for the fast lap of the Grand Prix. But the question is, have we done enough? Is that enough for the championship?
Fantastic drive, and it means your driver's world
yes,
champion.
It is. Yes, it is. It is enough for the Drivers' Championship. Whew, Jesus. I was very, very worried there, but we've done it. We've done it.
The celebrations begin, and well earned they are indeed. It may have looked simple at times, but as any racing driver will tell you, competing at this level, at the very top, is anything but simple. There's no counting them now then. We have a new World Drivers' Champion. Victory today then, but bittersweet emotions, I'm sure, as the championship slips through their fingers. Even so, what a fantastic final race of the season this was. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
On this final race, some really, really cracking drama, but we've done it. We've won our 5th Drivers' World Championship on F1 2020, my team career. We had already sealed our 6th Constructors title as a team, as aarava Archer Racing, but it's so good to get the 5th championship sealed here, and that really ends off a fantastic campaign on this game. I think we've done well to get 5 championships, because there were some really, really tough fights out there with AI. And look at this! Look at that! Look how close that actually came, because of Schumacher and Ocon being right up there at the sharp end with 1st and 2nd respectively. Schumacher ends up getting 2nd the championship, Lando's down to 3rd, and the top 4 in the championship are spread by 6 points. I only came first by 3 to Schumacher in the end. That is amazing. That is probably the closest ending ever I've had. 4 people that close together is unbelievable. And you know what? It's quite poetic and quite lovely actually that Schumacher, the teammate that I chose at the very start of this game, you know, he's grown as an AI, his stats have built up. It's actually really nice that he's able to finish 2nd there. Only 3 points off the championship win in the last season, you know, showing that progress he's made. Because you guys remember, if you were here from Season 1, how woeful he was as a teammate in Season 1 to the point where we dropped him for Aitken halfway through Season 1. So it shows the growth of the AI in-game over 8 seasons. But my, oh my, what a final season this has been. That was a cracking last race. I can't believe our DRS got stuck open. In the last ever episode, we have one of the most rare events ever happen to us mid-race. That was insane. And the drama there with overtaking Lando, not knowing then also about the points with Schumacher and Ocon, and overtaking Sainz on the last lap to doubly make sure we get the win. Oh boy, that is quite something. But guys, that is it then. That is the final ever episode we are doing of My Team Career Mode on F1 2020. If you've been here from the start or you jumped on literally just last episode, I appreciate all your guys' support over every single episode. 146 of these. And I think every single episode should thereabouts be over 100k views, which is the first time I've ever done that ever on any F1 game, let alone over 146 episodes of them, which is just showing how much you guys are invested or were invested in this series, and that just warms my heart. It's so sick to see that, and so sick to see you guys commenting below every single time we upload one of these, and you're so invested in the storyline we built up with this career mode save. And like I said, it's now time for a bit of a refresher, a week break of career mode, and then we can come on to F1 2021 with a bang and begin a whole new chapter, a whole new storyline on that game. But guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, enjoyed this season, enjoyed the entire series, then smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.